Hi, I'm Tim. Join me as we discuss the Ultra Micro receiver that I purchased from Stevens Aero. Let's get to it. I enjoy flying a wide range of radio control model aircraft. This is the Stevens Aero Pete and Paul. It's a kit from Stevens Aero. Put the website below if you wish to take a look at it. And this kit is designed around an ultra micro radio control system. You can see the built-in receiver and servos here, the motor's built in, and it just does a wonderful job of making this airplane fly. So what we'll do, we'll take a look at how this airplane flies. Then I want to go into more detail about an update to this ultra micro system that is available today.
Much better.
I think flies, guys. The Stevens Aero models were originally powered by the ParkZone ultramicro electronics. A lot of these components have have been discontinued. You can no longer get them, but there is an updated series of equipment which I'll describe to you now that you can purchase from Stevens Aero. It's actually a little bit smaller, and I think it's going to be more reliable than the other system. So to power and control these smaller models, you need 5 things. You need the brick, which is a combination of receiver, electronic speed control, and 2 linear servos shown right here. This is connected to a motor, which has a propeller that screws onto the prop shaft, a battery which plugs in here, and then this is a charger for the battery. You plug this in, plug it into the USB of your computer to charge up the single cell LiPo battery. Now, the original microelectronics from ParkZone was this brick right here. Let me orientate this the same way. It's the same thing. You had a receiver, electronic speed control, 2 linear servos. Here's the antenna, the motor hookup. But this has been discontinued, and this is the replacement. Don't have a brand name for it, but you'll see on the website that it's the 4-channel ultra micro system with the receiver. What they've done is, you can see that it's just a little bit narrower here to here, but an important distinction is this is to the front of the aircraft, this is to the rear because of these control wheels. If you put this towards the back of the aircraft, when the controls hook up to these servos, it can't get through the gears, so you have to have these gears to the front. It was always a little bit cumbersome because the battery connections to the rear. And so if the battery was behind, that's fine. If you wanted the battery in front for CG purposes, that was not handy. Also, the motor plugged in here, which is always kind of weird because it had to go to the front to where the aircraft is. With this update, notice all the solder joints, etc. There's much less on this version. If we go onto the back, it's a much cleaner display on the back. What that's going to mean for modelers is a more reliable system. Also, notice the battery lead and the motor connector are now towards the front of the unit with the antenna in back. That just makes a lot more sense. It should make things a lot easier for modelers. One thing to be very careful about is when you connect the battery, the polarity is crucial. If you plug in the battery backwards, in other words, positive to negative, you will damage the system. You'll fry it. So what had happened was, in the older systems, you had a little series of handles underneath the thing which matched up to a red dot, so you just kept that to the bottom to plug it in. And everything was fine. Now notice in about 5 seconds it's going to the bind mode, and then it's ready to be binded to a receiver. The newer version does not have this handy little feature to identify it. So what I've done is, if you notice here, the red positive wire is on top when you plug it in. I just keep the red wire on top, and then when I plug this in, Again, it goes right into the bind mode because I've powered up the system without having the transmitter installed. So what I'm going to do now, the system is in the bind, is looking to find a transmitter right now. I'm going to go ahead and bind it for you. So I'm going to use the DX6 transmitter. Again, these newer systems, the ultra micro receivers, are optimized for the Spectrum systems and their technology. To bind it, we simply push the bind button. We're going to turn it on the correct model, keep it about 3 feet away, antenna pointed away, and I will let you take a look at the screen here as I hold down the bind button, and you can see the bind process here as well as hear the voice. So the bind is complete, and what will happen is you can see the steady light on the brick, and up, down, left, right. So we have rudder and elevator, and I've used these smaller systems a lot, the ParkZone. There's just a very crisp feel. I'm liking the way it feels. Notice also that you have a geared motor here, and just a ton of power from that little thing right there. So that is the setup. Remember, to keep everything correctly binded, we will power down this first and then turn off the transmitter at this point. One other thing I want to point out is when you purchase this from Stevens Aero, this comes completely assembled. There's no soldering at all required. And what I like is the little bag that it comes in. This is a Stevens Aero patch. They've checked the bind, the servos, and the throttle, that everything works okay, so it's a pass test. That's a good quality control thing. If you buy this geared motor, they come on 2 parts. You have the motor right here with the plug, and then you'll have a separate unit. That's the housing with the gear and the motor. The motor simply slides in here, and it's a very tight friction fit. I may put a little dab of epoxy here. Doesn't have to, because that motor is very tightly in there. You just line it up so where the gear goes underneath this gear, the pinion on the motor, and the propeller simply screws onto the end of the shaft right there, and you're good to go. So that's an overview of the system. Why don't we take a quick look at the Stevens Aero website. You can see how to order these items from Stevens Aero if you wish to build it for your model. We'll come back for a quick review of the receiver itself. This is the homepage for the Stevens Aero model website, and you can see on the homepage these new receivers are listed here, both the Futaba compatible and the one that we'll focus on, which is for the Spectrum transmitter. The website is a great amount of technical information and update to include a picture of the system. You just have the quantity you want to buy. Down below, the additional details it's a great source of information, and they do a pretty good job of updating it with changes. So go up to the menu. We can go to the Ultra Micro Receivers section. See the 3-channel no longer continued. The 2 4-channel ones we discussed. Other options, a 6-channel receiver and ESC with no servos, and a long throw servos for your ailerons. We go back up to the menu and we go to motors and ESCs. We click on the Ultra Micro motors for our smaller models, and this web page will give us a range of options for those motors. We'll take a look at the micro motor and gearbox, the wide variant. There's the holder and the motor shown assembled. Go back up to batteries and chargers. Take a look at the LiPo batteries, and what we're looking for is a single cell LiPo for this ultra micro equipment. There's a single cell LiPo there. Go back up to the batteries and chargers. And this is a very handy LiPo charger for these single cell batteries. You just plug it into your USB port in your computer, put in the battery, red light's charging, red light out, it's fully charged. The prop was a little bit harder to find. What I found was I went to the Ultra Micro kits, and I'll just take a look at the Pete and Paul, it could be any of them. And what will happen is, depending on the model, they'll have additional things you can add. Right there is where you can add the propeller to your order. There's a picture of the prop and the spinner, and you just click Add To, and then you can add it to your cart and purchase it at that time. So this is a printout from the Stevens Aero website. You can see that this unit is this one right here. They don't have a brand name. They just call it the 4-channel ultra micro receiver. These are Spectrum technologies that is compatible, and it goes with Rush ESC, various things you can see on the website. There's no soldering required. And it does go into a fair amount of detail that it replaces the discontinued PKZ, which is ParkZone, various units that are used in a range of models. The other thing they point out is the use of double-sided foam tape. When you mount these things, double-sided foam tape, which you can get anywhere, is you sticks to here, it'll stick onto the model. That will minimize any potential damage or loosening of a solder joint when you mount it onto your aircraft. So again, thanks for this video. I had the card up earlier with the original one in the ParkZone electronics. This is an updated version. It is October of 2020. Stevens Aero is very easy to work with. If there's any problem with your order, if you have a question, whatever, just an email to them. It's on the website. They'll come back within hours, and they're very easy to work with on issues you may have, questions, other problems with the smaller models. Also, the Pete and Paul kit is one of their 36 micro models. They just go together great. They're laser cut, just incredible way to build a model with the precision laser technology. And they fly just wonderfully, as you can see in the video. So good luck with your smaller models, and the ultra micro receiver will be the key to making sure these things fly right.